big news. Big news coming to D.C. is one Judge Jeanine Pirro, the Fox host, former colleague of mine, who is a wonderful woman, and nobody's fool. And man, she's like a spitfire. She's going to light the world on fire. I'm sure the people like quaking in their boots, the Democrats are like, oh my God, you got Judge Jeanine. You know, by the way, she was a district attorney before she was ever a television star. She was also a judge before she was ever a television star. So she knows a thing or two about the law, and she's all about law and order, and she's all about protecting victims in this world. So big news, he was looking at her just yesterday, and then it got announced a few hours later she was taking the gig. It's interim, which is interesting to me. I kind of wonder, is she going to just do it for a little while, kind of get the thing off and running, and then go back to Fox? It's possible. I don't know. I wasn't sure that she would take the gig because, you know, it's hard work. And she's in her 70s, and she's phenomenal on television, absolutely phenomenal on television. And I think she can kind of write her own ticket there, but I suspect that, you know, she really felt like, well, the president has called me to do this and I can do a lot of good. So let me go in there for a little while and see what can happen. You know, I just want to play a quick soundbite of Judge Jeanine, because this is, to me anyway, one of the most brilliant analysis of what's going on with the Democrat Party. She gets, I mean, the Democrats are totally lost. And she said this recently on Fox, and I thought did a phenomenal job. I want to play it for you so you can kind of get in her head a little bit.
Yeah, but the Democrats can act because there's nothing about them that's authentic. And that's the problem. I mean, they're fighting to be cool. And the truth is, if it's natural, that's great. But they're not natural. Everything is scripted. Everything is, okay, they got the memo today. Today we're going to sing, we're going to dance, we're going to curse, you know, or we're going to pick your fighter. And the problem is it's more damning of the Democrat Party that if, you know, Trump's numbers, let's say, are going down, the Democrats' numbers are not going up because Americans don't consider them a viable option. I mean, I don't know that it's just that they're mad at everybody, as that, like, the Democrats have never shown that they care about Americans. They're more concerned about Abrego Garcia. They're more concerned about the illegals. They're more concerned about men and women's sports. They're more concerned about open borders, cashless bail, and making sure that, you know, they've got all these DEI policies. And the shame of it is it's such a missed opportunity for them that, you know, the voters went for Trump because the Democrats didn't offer them anything. They offered them nothing that they could latch onto. And by the way, millennials are not obsessed or focused on DEI or all of this like threats to democracy. They're focused on buying a house. This is the first generation where our children are not going to be as successful or as wealthy as we are. And that really is an opportunity that is so missed. And at the end of the day, whether or not Donald Trump's numbers are going down, 92% of the voters who voted for Trump are still satisfied with their vote because he's doing what he said he would do. And, you know, Schumer and Pelosi can get out there. Pelosi says, well, they haven't done anything. Well, has anybody talked about the fact that the price of eggs have gone down? No, it's just when they were high, they couldn't stop complaining about it. But now that they're low, they're not going to give Trump credit for that. Of course not.
I love it. David, I agree with you. I just saw your comment. She gets it. She so gets it. Okay? She so gets it. She's a really terrific person and an extremely hard worker. And she means business. So she's going to go in there. I think the Democrats won't know what hit them when Judge Jeanine gets to D.C. But what I would say is that her heart's in the right place. And I like what she just said. I consider it a pretty spot-on, brilliant analysis. Of course, it kind of gels with what I've been telling you all along. I mean, unbelievable how the Democrats have just completely deserted their base, because their base used to actually stand for things like borders. In fact, you go back and look at the numbers, Barack Obama had actually deported more illegals than any other president in history. He campaigned on the fact that George Bush was allowing people in. I mean, this was all about his agenda. Hillary Clinton, similar stuff. Bill Clinton, similar stuff. It wasn't until Donald Trump came down the escalator and said, you know what, we need to get rid of the illegals. And then all of a sudden everybody got TDS and they went the other way. So he can say, boy, it's really sunny outside. And they're going to say, no, it's a dark, cloudy, rainy day, and so on and so on. And so they've done this to themselves. They have perverted what their party stood for. And the patriotism, basically, that went with being an American, whether you were right or left, that's gone. It's out the window. And nobody likes them anymore, okay? So Judge Jeanine, spot on. She absolutely gets it. Brilliant woman. She's going to be fantastic. And of course, the left is totally freaking out. I mean, poor Jake Tapper doesn't know what to do with himself. He's the guy, by the way, who told you that Biden was just brilliant. Oh, until he wasn't, until George Clooney decided he wasn't, and then Tapper was carrying Clooney's water and Obama's water and David Axel's water and anybody else's water, including Kamala's. Well, Tapper was like, I just can't believe he would ever nominate somebody like Jeanine Pirro for this job. Listen to him going on and on. This was like minutes before it became official. So it's kind of funny because it happened, Jake. Guess what? You meant nothing. Maybe that's what pushed him over the edge and he did it.
So some news breaking as we came on air. Sources are telling CNN and also telling you that President Trump is actually very seriously, strongly considering making Jeanine Pirro, the Fox host, who we should point out was a county district attorney. I think Westchester County years ago was a county district attorney. So she does have experience. Making her the interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. She is an ex-prosecutor. This also comes as Trump has nominated Dr. Casey Means to be Surgeon General, even though she dropped out of her residency and hasn't had an active medical license since last year. Trump today saying he took the recommendation of HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Give us some background on all the machinations going on here.
Sure, a couple of things. So Casey Means' name actually was initially in circulation for Surgeon General right after the election, and a lot of people around RFK threw water on it, and cold water on it, and suggested this wasn't going to happen. Obviously, Casey Means was not chosen, but it's not surprising that the HHS secretary ended up back there. He has a relationship with the Means siblings. Callie Means actually worked with the Trump campaign as well, even before RFK endorsed the president. So this is not a surprise. It does tell me that they are having some issues with certain staffing holes.
Why did they withdraw the other person who was, I think, Mike Waltz's sister-in-law?
I think you may have just answered your own question.
Okay.
I think there were questions about the education that nominee had, but I think the connection to Mike Waltz was not seen as an asset, according to all of the people who I have spoken to. And I think that the Trump White House is feeling more comfortable relying on RFK for what he wants to put in place right now.
And Jeanine Pirro, with all due respect to her, she hasn't been a lawyer for quite some time, unless I'm mistaken. I mean, she was a prosecutor,
she was
an elected official, Westchester County, et cetera.
Ran for Senate against Hillary Clinton,
right,
however briefly and however poorly that campaign went.
But that was so long ago.
It was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
She is, however, a more than 30-year friend of President Trump. Her ex-husband was one of Trump's lobbyists, corporate lobbyists, and her ex-husband was also Trump's final pardon issued at the very last hours of his last term. So I'm not surprised she would turn to him. He would turn to her, rather. She is, as you said, someone who at least does have some experience, but this will be interesting to see how it goes.
Shortly.
Detecting a little bit of ageism there with Mr. Jake Tapper, saying, well, that was ages ago. That was so many years ago. She was a district attorney years ago. She was a judge years and years ago. She's not as old as Biden, right? And she sure got it, shall we say. I mean, wow, she's a heck of a looker. And she's got it all upstairs. So, you go on. These people are unbelievable to me. I mean, it's sort of mind-boggling. And again, they've done it to themselves. I'm reading one of your comments. Jake, fake news flapper. That's great. A little later in the program, we're going to talk about that fake news element because, Jake, he's out with a book now about how there was this cover-up. Biden, I'm like, oh, you were the cover-up. Like, what, now you're trying to profit off of it? Are you kidding me? You have no shame. No shame at all.